Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 7th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, my day was pretty good. It's another one. We rocked, we rolled. It's a little hectic, but we got through. We're good. It's nice to be able to not take it with you. You know what I mean? You get to come home. You get to, like, for me, I do my little workout. I do a little breather, take five, have a little sippy, call it a pregame, if you will. And, I get to press play and talk to y'all, my little newsies, my little friends. So, yes, it's fun. It's nice. We're in a good mood. We're in good spirits now. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into some news. I actually want to get right into it today. Let's see. We're talking about Ukraine. We're doing Ukraine news from Associated Press. Russian missile strike on Ukrainian market kills 17 as Blinken announces new $1 billion aid package. All right. A Russian missile tore through an outdoor market in eastern Ukraine on Wednesday, killing 17 people and wounding dozens, as U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken returned to the country with more than $1 billion in new American funding for Ukraine, including military aid and humanitarian aid. Blinken's fourth visit to the country was overshadowed by the strike in the city of Krasnoyarsk, near the front line in the Donetsk region, that turned the marketplace into an inferno. It was one of the deadliest bombardments of civilians in the 18-month-old war. In addition to the dead, at least 32 people were wounded. Those who know this place are well aware that it is a civilian area. President Volodymyr Zelensky said at a news conference with the Danish Prime Minister in Kiev, I should say, sorry. There aren't any military units nearby. The strike was deliberate. So, bit of a double package here with the news. Obviously it's really sad that there was a strike this magnitude that, killed, initially it was reported as 16 when I first heard the story, but it was updated to 17 people that have died, 32 people who were injured. Another thing that I do note here, I definitely feel like this was very much just to send a message. When someone like Secretary of State Anthony Blinken comes through, or someone like President Biden comes through, any kind of political, big official, because there's usually a level of communications on both sides, or all sides, if you will. Intelligence communities, all that kind of shit. They go, hey, this person is going to be in this area, just so you know. That is usually conveyed to at least some extent, because it's like you don't want to have that kind of escalation on your hands. It's like, well, yeah, like your missile strike just killed yada, yada, yada. So usually these things are made to be a statement. You're sending a message. And there was no military target here. You just wanted to do damage with this. And that's very fucked up. It's very sad. But also the second half of the news here is that Blinken came through to give this $1 billion. It has become just a very routine thing. I was listening to a podcast, and it was one of those things where you can almost time your watch. It's like a quarterly thing, maybe, I don't know, 1 to 3 months. America or some Western country is going to give $1 billion, some kind of big amount of aid, military support, lethal aid, whatever, to Ukraine. And I'm like, yeah, no, that lines up with what I'm talking about every fucking day. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's a strange situation we find ourselves in. There's a lot of talk now about winters coming again. We are hitting that cycle, which is crazy. Yeah, 18 months, like over a year, going on 2 of this shit. And winter is coming. This counteroffensive, it doesn't seem like it's been super effective. I know that it's been kind of tried to displayed and propped up as such, but at the same time, I know media is even waning on the conversation. Even this article, they bring up the whole like polling about like, yeah, Americans aren't as stoked. And, bringing up also like, conservatives, Republicans are also like naysaying that shit, which is just a weird camp that I kind of now found myself in, where I'm like, because, just previous podcasts I've talked about this shit, where I'm like, yeah, there's a personal burnout to me where I go, look, I don't like the idea of us funding some kind of proxy war. It just feels weird. I understand why we are doing it. Don't get me wrong. You see this whole shit play out, all the death, just like day after fucking day. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's sad as hell. And it doesn't need to happen. Over what? Over like you won some territory? Like, no, this fucking just terrible. But it's just, at the end of the day, when you pan all the shit back, you look at NATO, you look at all this fucking shit. We've talked about it before. Like, it's crazy to see all this money, and then we're talking about inflation, and I'm dealing with that shit. Yeah, it's like, it sucks that I am living paycheck to paycheck, hand to fucking mouth, and I hear, oh yeah, we just threw a bunch of money over to Ukraine, and, it's not going to do or change anything in the conversation over there. But we did that. Hell yeah. It is one of those things where you definitely want to support, for sure. But I will also add, you see less of the fucking Ukraine flags in people's bios. So it's just one of those things where, hey, it is going to get talked about, and I want to talk about it. And let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, because it's still Ukraine news. But we are going to Cuba. Spice it up a bit. NBC. Cuba says it uncovered a human trafficking ring that sends Cubans to fight with Russia against Ukraine. The announcement comes after Spanish language media in Miami reported on Cubans being taken to Russia to fight alongside its military forces. Cuban authorities said they have uncovered a human trafficking ring operated from Russia that recruits Cuban citizens to fight alongside its military forces in Ukraine. The announcement, made late Monday by Cuba's foreign ministry, comes days after local media in Miami reported on Cubans being taken to Russia to fight. The Miami affiliate of Telemundo, part of NBC Universal, interviewed two 19-year-old Cubans who said they were duped into going to Russia. They said a recruiter offered each a job in construction in exchange for $2,200, a Russian passport, and a possibility of taking their families to Russia in the future. We don't know what to do anymore, one of them said, adding they were told to be ready at 3:30 a.m. because they would be taken to Ukraine. So that's pretty fucking wild. I know that we've talked about some of Russia's recruiting tactics, via like Wagner going to prison saying like, hey, we will literally let you out of prison if you just do like a 6-month stint on the front line. You just do what you're told. You'll bring honor to the country, and if you die, you'll get a hero's funeral. So I mean, this is not outside the realm of reason and scope. But yeah, it was definitely a development I did not see coming. Cuba has put out a press release saying it has detected and is working to neutralize and dismantle a human trafficking network that operates from Russia in order to incorporate Cuban citizens living there, and even some living in Cuba, into the military forces that participate in military operations in Ukraine. Attempts of this nature have been neutralized, and criminal proceedings have been initiated against those involved in these activities, the press release also stated. The Kremlin has not commented on Cuba's announcement. But yeah, that is a crazy development. I could imagine that Cuba's making this announcement, one, because they aren't a part of this. They don't want it to look like, hey, this is collusion. But two, because you have to get out ahead of this kind of shit, because for Russia, they're looking for as many people as they can get to fight in this effort. Hey, yeah, we'll just give you some money. Come on over. But for Cuba, they need to know, they need to make sure that their image is like, we are not teamed up with, old Soviet buddy Russia here. Like, this is not that. We are not involved here. We're not okay with this shit. It's bad. Russia bad. Like, everyone really has to kind of say that, because especially if you are literally the United States neighbor, you can't come incorrect. Like, literally, Cuba suffers day after day because they have the ideology, that they have, and they are who they are. And because they haven't come off of that, they're literally labeled an enemy to, the United States, to Western powers. So they have to come correct. That is part of the reason I do feel like they came out with a press release like this saying like, yo, we are not okay with this. But also they aren't okay with this. You know what I'm sure. At the end of the day, you're offering our citizens some lowball offer to fight in some kind of fucking war. That's crazy. That being said, I do like that NBC kind of tracks the news here, like where it came from. I don't know. I'm not saying that this is fake or false or anything like that. I am going to hopefully trust my sources, lean on that. But I am weary because I bit the line and to an extent on the Havana syndrome shit. You know what I mean? Like, I always have to go into the story saying like, look, it is what it is. I'm seeing the story. They have sources. I'm going to try to trust it. But I've also listened, seen all the kind of shit and how propaganda works and how this fucking shit moves. And it bums me out to like know that there are reputable sources that go, hey, yeah, we're just going to cover it and do it. And then you like pan out months later, a year later, and a story wasn't as real or concrete or as big as it was made out to be. That being said, for these 19-year-olds, fuck, I cannot imagine. Like, you thought you were going to do some construction in another country? Like, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds exotic. And next thing you know, you're going to be on the front lines. That being said, if it sounds too good to be true, don't believe it. Hopefully you haven't heard that here first. That'd be crazy. Okay, let's move along. We're going to the States. Ooh, my mouth is dry. I'm going to take a little water break. Okie dokie. From Los Angeles Times. Danny Masterson sentenced to 30 years to life for raping former Scientologists. Ooh-wee. After a pair of trials focused on the Church of Scientology's alleged attempts to shield one of its celebrity members from prosecution, actor Danny Masterson was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison on Thursday morning after having been convicted of raping two former members of the church. Masterson, 47 years old, was convicted of 2 counts of rape in May, and a jury deadlocked on a third woman's accusations. The assaults took place in the early 2000s, but Masterson's victims said they waited years to come forward because Scientology doctrine forbade them from reporting a fellow member to the police. Also, it's stated in the article, and we've talked about this before. I really don't want to dwell too much on the story. It's very fucking sad and gross. But yeah, I mean, not only were they loyal for that long, they literally, once they defected and they knew this would happen, like literally people's like family members disowned them. Like one of the victims, their mom said, look, I want Danny Masterson to go to jail as much as anyone, but I can't talk to you anymore because you spoke out, because you are compromising my religion, which is Scientology. And that's so sad. That's so fucked up. But yeah, I mean, Masterson is facing the music here. Once Hyde of that 70s show. Like I said, they axed him out on the reunion, which was good call. Love to see that. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's sad to see this shit. Masterson is filing an appeal, as guilty or often want to do, and also I have to add, the not guilty. You file the appeal no matter what when you're found guilty. That's pretty much what you do. But yeah, this is kind of the nail in the coffin unless something else kind of comes up. I will also add too, it's sad that 2 of the people can say like, yeah, by the numbers, I got justice here. But one of the people, who was a part of this trial isn't getting justice. They were deadlocked in one of the 3. And that's very unfortunate because at the end of the day, this is your time to tell your truth. And you do that and it's heard, but then not received. I can't imagine having to go through that on the stand, that fucking sucks. Because in a way, like, yes, this person is going away for, this amount of time. I think the way that it kind of fell out for the judge in terms of sentencing, they could only sentence him to two path lines, either the 15 years or 30 years, like, because it's just that's the amount for each person or what have you, because it's like multiples. So either you were only going to do a flat low or you had to do this 30. I don't know. I'm saying this wrong, but essentially that was the way that it was set out. But I guess I would imagine if the third person, there was a conviction there, it would have been 45 years. So, it's a whole 15 extra years, added on to the sentencing. So it is important. It's not nothing. It's not like, well, still justice is served. Like, no, you have to kind of think like, no, for me, it kind of feels like it's not. And I have to kind of just eat it in a way. And that to me would feel upsetting, I'd imagine. Trying to put myself in that person's shoes, thinking about it. But yeah, I did want to cover that. That was kind of something that popped up on the radar, I think today. That was kind of fresh. All right, we got one more thing to cover, and it is another update. I'm going to take my little break, and then we will close it out. Okay, we're back, and we're zenner than ever. From the entrepreneur, teen dies after attempting Hershey-owned company's one-chip challenge at school. Product to be moved from shelves, or to be pulled from shelves. I'm sorry. So this is an update. We talked earlier this week about the Pocky One Chip Challenge and how someone took the challenge and, were literally dead by the end of the day. And here we are. So, we'll do a little quick refresher. A 14-year-old boy who attempted the viral social media challenge at his high school in Worcester, Massachusetts, died last week. Now the company says it's actively working with retailers to remove the product from shelves. Harris Wubla, a sophomore, fainted after eating the chip at school. His mother picked him up a few hours later. He passed out at home and was taken to the emergency room where he died. So it looks like, and also I didn't report this. I didn't even think about it when I read it, kind of zoom by me. But it is technically by the umbrella a Hershey company. Pocky is owned by Amplify Snack Brands, which was purchased by Hershey Company for $1.6 billion in 2018. In addition to pulling the product from shelves, Pocky is offering refunds to those who purchased the chip per the company site. So, yeah, I kind of joked about this to my friend. I was like, yeah, it looks like, they're trying to get ahead of the lawsuits. And, they responded well, yeah, but they're also kind of implicating themselves here because you're showing hey, yeah, now we're definitely scared that someone could die and it's from our chip. Because technically they're doing this before even the autopsy has confirmed it. They're yeah, he's dead, here's yada, 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 but they haven't given the full readout yet. And even so, they're look, we want to make sure this chip is out of circulation. And I kind of said too, I was well, they're stuck because there's negligence now. If you don't pull it, because now if they come out with an autopsy and you're just letting this chip ride and saying, hey, well, we told you guys no kids allowed. No. You're on the hook. And, and sure enough, we definitely concluded damn if you do, damn if you don't. You're kind of fucked. But, yeah, I do think it's maybe the right call, probably the right call. I personally am not feeling any FOMO about it, being that I didn't take the one chip challenge. Like I said, I'm out of the spicy game. I only eat for joy now. I'm not trying to eat for sport. When I sweat because I just love the food and it tasted good and it was spicy. It's just all win. Instead of oh yeah, it's so spicy, I know my butthole's gonna be open tonight. I'm not eating like that anymore. I'm different. I've changed. I'm reformed. But yeah, I mean, once again, still a sad situation. But yeah, no more one chip challenge. We're done now. Now back to bag of chip. But yeah, that's all we have for today. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much also for your support. I cannot stress this enough. It means so much. It's really why I do it. It's why I like overthink, underthink. I do this shit all the time. It's scuffed, but thank you so much for just being along for the ride. It means a lot to me. But yeah, I have to chill now. It's money moves time. What is it? Patreon.com/says Isaiah News. I remembered. Okay, awesome. You become a newsie. I shout you out. I plug your project, whatever you're doing. Isaiah News 1 at gmail.com is another way to reach me, talk to me for free. Let's see here. I'm also on all the socials. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. Saying it out loud like that, you do have to say formally from Twitter. Damn. Because if I say I'm on X, you're going to think I'm on drugs. Oh, man. Oh, whoopsie. Okay, cool. All right, whatever. You know what I mean. I'm on that. And yeah, you know how to find me. Hopefully you're subscribed to the YouTube. It means a lot if you are. And then all of the stars, all the reviews, that mean a lot. And yeah, that's the podcast. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.